Hey, what's up? Chris Seiter here, founder of Ex-Boyfriend Recovery, and today we're going to be talking about when you should let go of your ex, or if you should let go of your ex. Basically, I'm just going to tell you the signs that will tell you if you should let go of your ex. Okay? But first, before we get started, I always like to recommend to anyone who's new to this process and wants to figure out if they even have a chance of getting their ex back to simply go to our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, and take the quiz that I put together there. This quiz is specially designed to answer the question of if you have a chance of getting your ex back or not. Taking the quiz is very easy. Simply look in the description below this YouTube video, click on the link you see there. It's going to take you to a page that will ask you lots of background questions about you, your ex, and your relationship or your time together. Based on how you answer those questions, we're actually going to run them through an algorithm based on my own personal experience, as well as what we know to be true about exes and breakups in general, and come up with a score for you so that you have an idea of what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. Now, if you score lowly and you're thinking, oh, I have no chance of getting my ex back, don't worry, we have you covered. We're actually going to also take your answers and recommend personalized advice based on how you answered your quiz on what you should be doing in your situation. So taking this free 2-minute quiz is super easy. Simply look in the description below the YouTube video, click on the link you see there, and we'll hook you up. All right, so let's get to talking about when you should let go of your ex.
All right, so how do you know when it's time to let go, when it's time to truly just give up on your situation and move on to someone else? And it's an interesting question that we're going to be exploring today, and there's actually 7 signs that I've been able to link to kind of situations where it's a smart idea to move on. So let's just jump right into those right now. So the first sign that I think you should always consider is the idea of an on-again, off-again relationship where nothing really changes. Now, a lot of people, when they ask me, Chris, give me a situation where I'm going to have the best chance of getting my ex back. And I'll often tell that person, I actually think the person with the very best chance of getting their exes back would be someone who's been consistently in an on-again, off-again relationship with their ex. Now, why? Well, there's already a historical precedent set of, hey, you're able to have gotten this person back before. The question is a little flawed because someone who asks me, Chris, give me a situation where I'll have the best chance, doesn't necessarily mean give me a situation where I'll have the best chance of sustaining a long-term relationship. I always like to kind of view on-again, off-again relationships sort of like a wheel, right? So as the wheel turns, it goes from on again to off again, then back to on again, then back to off again. And really the challenge lies in breaking this pattern. And I find that the pattern is extremely difficult to break. And I think, the whole point of this is to be able to break the pattern by not repeating the sins of the past, right? So if you think about it, if you look at your relationship with your ex and you think about all the times that you've gotten back together, has that original problem that caused you to break up been present throughout? Have you just been repeating the same behaviors over and over again? Because if that's the case, there's no historical precedent being set that anything is going to be different going forward. So that could be a situation where it might be a good idea to start looking at moving on. The next situation, I think, is where you text your ex and they're ignoring you. Now, don't freak out if you've texted your ex and they've ignored you once. I'm talking about like permanently, right? I work with a lot of people one-on-one, right? And so one of the big things that I try to teach people is coming up with interesting ways of texting their ex, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do this. You can come up with some sort of text message that has a lot of curiosity imbued into it. You can come up with a text message that is a pattern interrupt, something that will capture their attention. Every text that I work with my clients on is meant to yield responses, right? And so recently one client that I've been working with, this is the text that we came up with for her situation. Can you keep a secret? Now this creates, it's kind of like an open loop, right? So it's unanswered question. There's a reason why her ex would want to respond to this, because he wants to figure out what the secret is. And also there's kind of a curiosity imbued into this, because guess what? What is the secret? I need to know what the secret is, right? If you consistently text your ex with really, really great, clever text messages, they don't always have to be like this one, but you're trying and they do not respond, they could just completely ignore you time and time again. You've tried maybe 5 or 6 times. That could be a sign it's time to let go. It's time to move on and try something different. The next thing that I want to talk about is that actually if there's strong evidence that they won't ever commit. Right, and probably the best analogy I can give you here is actually by looking at that TV show How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother is kind of the TV show that took over the torch from the famous TV show Friends. It's about a group of people who just basically sit at a bar, tell funny stories, and a lot of it is about the main character and how he's telling a story to his kids about how he met his mother, and it just goes through all sorts of shenanigans. Anyways, there's a scene in there, there's an episode in there where they talk about this hook, right, and how someone can sort of keep you on the hook without ever having any kind of intention of committing to you ever. And they'll often say this line right here.
I'm really into you. I just can't be with you right now.
Ted, right now is the classic on the hook catchphrase.
Yep. Right now paints a picture of some sort of magical future time when everything will work out, but the truth is, that will never happen.
It's like this. I can't be with you. Boom! Right now.
So that's actually one of my favorite clips from How I Met Your Mother. The Barney Stinson closing the door and then kind of cracking it open with the right now. And that's sort of what this one is like. Now, in real life, Hollywood doesn't always work out that way in Hollywood, right? Real life can be a little bit different. The quote unquote right now sort of slam the door in the face thing doesn't often come out as exactly that. Sometimes it could be something as them giving you false hope. And I think more than anything, the thing I tell my clients to look at is do not take people face value when they say something to you. Look at what they do. Their actions will tell the whole story of how they feel. So if you consistently are being strung along by your ex and they're giving you sort of false hope, or they're making or doing things to give you these mixed signals, where 1 minute they feel like they're ready to drop everything and commit to you, and the next minute they avoid you like the plague, just look at what their actions are saying, not what their words are saying, and that should tell the whole story. The next thing that you should sort of keep an eye out for is if your ex is only in it for the sex. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing. This is a situation that one of my clients was recently faced with a couple of months ago, where I was working with this person who was trying to get their ex back. And everything I was recommending to this person just wouldn't work. It's like everything fell flat on its face. And when I'm encountered by situations like this, I often will sit back and say, okay, what can I do? What have I overlooked here? And so I started asking this person about their overall situation again and again, and started learning that actually the whole foundation of their entire relationship was built on sex. Meaning the ex was only with this person for sex, and that's all they were interested in. And so I, of course, when I break this news to the person, they're completely livid. They're not happy to hear this. They disagree with me completely, and I say, okay, well, that's fine if you disagree, but here, just humor me for a little bit. Let's put your ex through a test, because anytime that this person would get their ex to respond to them, the ex would respond to them in very sexual ways, right? So I said, okay, well, how about this? If your ex responds to you in a sexual way, do not respond. In fact, don't even flirt with them and just see what happens. And it was almost funny how fast it unraveled and how fast I was proven right, because the second that the ex made some sort of move and was asking for like pictures or something like that, and my client just said no, they threw a tantrum. to a tantrum to the point where they're calling my client names and all sorts of things like that. And this is a great example of someone who's only in it for sex. This is not someone you should be trying to win back. This is someone you should be trying to let go. All right, this particular sign is pretty self-explanatory. This is where you're in a relationship that's been abusive, either physically or emotionally. I don't think I have to go too deep into details here. You should never ever be with someone who's physically abusive. I think the emotional abuse is often overlooked, and it's hard to kind of have a measure, but you will know if you've been emotionally abused just by looking and comparing it to some of the other signs out there of people who have been emotionally abused. But I think the one thing I want to highlight here is I'm not just talking about it if your ex has been abusive to you. I'm talking about it if you have been abusive to your ex. Those are situations, it's kind of two sides of the same coin in my opinion, so I think that's something that you need to keep an eye out for as well. This is the other thing, the situation where you're trying to get someone back and you just can't stop fighting every time you're communicating with each other. And often when I talk about this, I tell the story of my very first relationship ever, where I remember literally there was a point throughout the relationship where we would get into fights all the time, right? So I remember literally after one fight one day, I remember thinking, wow, we have fought every single day this week. Every single day. I counted it up and it was just shocking. And I remember thinking, is this what it's supposed to be like to be in a relationship with someone? And it's not. Good relationships, it's normal to fight in good relationships. It's not normal to fight every single day. So that's kind of a good precursor that can tell you if you need to maybe let go. And then the final thing is if there's stalking involved. Now, stalking can be physical, but it can also be cyber, right? So if you or your ex has been stalking and there's a sort of not warrant. What am I looking for here? The terminology. If there's a restraining order out on you, or you've filed one on your ex, let go. It's time to move on. I will say this is probably among the rarest situations I see. I could probably, in the course of the 6.5 years I've been doing this, count them on one hand how often I've seen situations like this, but I have seen them. And these are not circumstances where you should be trying to get an ex back. So here's what I also want to say. Most of these particular signs that we covered today, it's sort of a negative topic, right? A lot of you guys want to get your exes back or find a way to get your exes back. And we're talking about sort of the situations where maybe it's not a good idea to get your ex back. But I find that oftentimes when you're obsessed so much about getting your ex back, it's easy to commit, maybe not stalking, but it's easy to commit some of these signs, right? It's easy to be in an on-again, off-again relationship and just completely overlook the off-again phase. It's easy to overlook or make an excuse if your ex doesn't text you back. It's easy to look at your own text messages and think to yourself, I could do better. It's easy to overlook the fact that, hey, they've never given you any legitimate reason to make you think that they're ready to commit. It's easy to overlook the fact that they're only in it for sex. I told that story. That's exactly what my client did. It's easy to overlook abuse. As sad as it is, we see all sorts of people who are abused in relationships and marriages that refuse to leave the person they're with. It's easy to overlook the fact that you can't stop fighting with one another. It's also easy to overlook stalking. The fact that I have to put this in this YouTube video just shows you how people can overlook these things. I think more than anything, the thing I want to leave you with is these are all very, very rare situations, right? These are, most of the time you're not going to see someone who's been in an abusive relationship that wants to get back with their ex. Most of the time, you're not going to be trying to get back with an ex if you have a restraining order on you or you've put a restraining order on them. So don't freak out if maybe your situation has a touch of your ex ignoring you. Don't freak out if your situation has a touch of the on-again, off-again relationship. Don't freak out if there has been some evidence where maybe you're making progress with them and they're not able to commit. Don't freak out if you've maybe fought a little bit more than normal. I'm talking about extremes here with each one of these signs. You should always let go of an ex if you're doing one of these signs to an extreme. So that's the thing I just want to leave you with. So this was a blast, guys. I really appreciate you getting to the end of this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm trying to do daily videos, at least 5 days a week, to where I will basically teach you to the best of my abilities how you can get back with your ex or even get over your ex if that's what you want. Take care.